and I will rise up.
Alright, let's take a look at the next SmackDown vs. Raw game, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. This game featured many improvements over the previous game, including a game mode that I put a lot of hours into, and I'm pretty excited to go back and give it another go for today's video. The previous release, the inaugural SmackDown vs. Raw, was a good game, but certain things that made its predecessor, Here Comes the Pain, so good were missing in action. SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 doesn't bring those things back, but it does add enough new stuff to make the game a worthy sequel. We'll look at these new matches, modes and gameplay elements in today's video, and as always, I'll play a few weeks of season mode to show you what's new. SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 did not make an appearance at E3 2005. Before its official announcement, the game had the working title of SmackDown vs. Raw 2, but like last year, publisher THQ was staying tight-lipped about what fans could expect from this new wrestling game. The game was officially announced on July 4th, 2005 in an interview THQ gave to IGN, and THQ's creative manager Corey Ledesma said the decision to put 2006 in the title was to give the SmackDown franchise a sort of sports feel, not unlike the Madden or FIFA games. He also said it would be difficult to come up with new tagline names moving forward, like Shut Your Mouth and Here Comes the Pain. And I don't know, man, I think using taglines was a much better way of identifying the SmackDown games and separating them from each other, and also there were a ton of options to choose from really. The team took to message boards to gain feedback from the previous game. They promised smarter AI when playing against the CPU. New modes and features were also discussed, but rather than talk about them now, let's just jump into the game and we can look at everything as we go along. Let's go straight into a match and see how the game looks and how it plays. There are a few things we need to talk about. First of all, entrances look great as expected from an update, but entrances are also 30 frames per second as opposed to 60 frames per second during gameplay. This is due to more going on in entrances with better looking pyro, better camera cuts, better lighting, better animations, and overall longer entrances. So it's easy to see why the frame rate was dropped here. Graphically, the game is an improvement over the previous SmackDown vs. Raw game as it should be. Better lighting for the ring, character models looking a lot better along with character faces, attires look great, even the crowd looks a bit better. Those minigames make a return, but this time around you have the choice of what minigame to play before the match begins. You can also turn this off completely in the options menu. We now have player stamina in a WWE game. This was quite a big thing when it first got announced. If you do too much during a match, you're going to get tired out, and this not only slows you down, but it also leaves you open to attacks. I remember people actually being excited about this at first, saying as it adds a little more realism to the games, but over time, people seem to have gotten more and more annoyed with it. I think it only really works in certain situations, like when you play a two-player match and both wrestlers are completely spent. You can get some pretty intense moments as you both try to recover stamina to land that all-important finishing move, but it's also easy to see why people didn't like it too much. Grapple states make a comeback this year, only there's a whole lot more to choose from. Previously, we had power, speed, submission and trademark. Now we have power, speed, old school, luchador, brawler, technical and martial arts. This gives our characters even more identity in terms of their individual movesets and playstyles, so this gets a big thumbs up from me. The dirty and clean meters are now gone, but you still select if you're a babyface or a heel before the match. Performing clean actions in the ring fills up your standard momentum meter faster this time around, while you'll have to cheat to get a boost while playing as a heel. This goes both ways, so if you're a babyface and you perform a low blow for example, you're going to lose momentum. A new hard Irish whip's now also available, quite handy in Royal Rumble matches. Possum pins have been introduced, which can be pulled off if you have a special stored. Yes, you now have to manually store your special moves and you can only store one at a time. A new sleeper hold submission game has also been introduced. So even from a gameplay perspective, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 separates itself from its predecessor thanks to these new additions. On the grand scheme of things though, if you played a previous SmackDown game then you'll know what to do. The button layout hasn't changed and the fundamentals are all still there, so seasoned players will have no issue at all picking up a controller and winning matches. In regards to the upgraded AI, I'm not noticing much except the CPU reverses a whole lot more. There are options however to change the AI and frequency of reversals if you don't want to play with default settings. Again, if you've played a SmackDown game before, you'll have no issues. But if you play SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 the way the developer wanted you to play, you will still have to pay attention to how you raise your momentum and making sure your stamina is all good. SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 forces the player to think about the moves they're pulling off and how it's going to affect their ability to perform more moves and eventually their finisher. Keep in mind too that the stamina system can be turned off if you don't want this upgraded game mechanic. You can also make further changes to how the game plays within the options menu. The roster is also an improvement over last year's game in my opinion. Guys who weren't in last year's game but made it into SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 include William Regal, Orlando Jordan, Muhammad Hassan, The Hurricane, Eugene and Snitsky amongst others. And we also have returning favourites such as Randy Orton, John Cena, Booker T, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle and Triple H. In regards to legends, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan make their return to the SmackDown franchise after being absent from last year's game. Davey Boy Smith, who was removed from the last game, is now selectable. And we've also got legends such as Mankind, Junkyard Dog, Bret Hart and Jake Roberts also included in the game. We'll talk a bit more about Jake Roberts in a moment though, because SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 had a very unique way of unlocking this character in particular. Two all-new match types have been added, the long-requested Buried Alive match and a Divas Fulfill Your Fantasy match. Buried Alive matches are similar to casket matches. I don't need to explain to you guys how you win a Buried Alive contest, but it is good that it's been included this year after being requested for so long. 2K needs to take note and bring this game mode back. I don't care if WWE don't produce Buried Alive matches anymore. The Fulfill Your Fantasy match is kinda like an evolution of a Bra and Panties match, depending on how you look at it. Fill up your fantasy meter by removing your opponent's clothing, hitting your opponent with pillows. You can even spank your opponent. Basically, it's the perviest game mode WWE has ever offered. Along with this, you get all the usual match types. THQ boasted that the game has over 100 different matches you can play in exhibition mode, but keep in mind that this also includes multi-man variations. So playing exhibition mode with your friends or against the CPU should never get boring. All the usual favourites are here, including Hell in a Cell matches, ladder matches, First Blood, Last Man Standing. No match types are missing from the last game, and that's a good thing. Inside the creation submenu, we've got a few options. Create a superstar, create a moveset, we can now create entrances, and we have also got create a stable and create a championship. Create an entrance gives your created wrestlers a bit more personality as they make their way down to the ring, or you can just mess around with the wrestlers already included in the game. Create a Wrestler was upgraded last time with a much more straightforward menu system, and it's been made even easier again thanks to these tabs at the top of the screen. You guys know I'm not a big Create a Wrestler guy, but it looks like you can make all sorts of ridiculous characters and have them win the WWE Championship. Here's where I spent most of my time when playing SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, the GM mode. GM mode was something I was very excited for, and I thought it was awesome. I was big into Extreme Warfare Revenge back in the day, and I also wasted way too many hours playing that game. So hearing that there was going to be an official GM mode added to a WWE game was something I really wanted to try out. Honestly, I only really play 2K23 nowadays for GM mode. It's kinda shocking how much has been removed from those old games, and I wish someone would just play the old games to see what made it so good. But as Taz would say, I digress. SmackDown vs. Raw 2006's GM mode lets you draft your roster, set up matches, get emails from JR and others in regards to how you're running your shows. You get to set up your rivalries, book promos, manage your cash flow, manage wrestler injuries. And yes, I know you can do all this in the new games, but there's something about the PS2 GM modes that's just better. You have much more freedom in terms of match bookings, match types and title shots. There's no interruptions from the other GM like those special cards they use to mess you around. It's straightforward, no nonsense wrestling booking, and playing it again for this video makes me want to waste even more hours becoming the best general manager in the business. In terms of overall management, it isn't as robust as, say, Football Manager, but it's still a very welcome addition to an already good game, and it gives SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 a ton of replay value. Unlocking everything the game has to offer requires you to play GM mode, by the way, so if you're into getting 100% in the games you play, you will find yourself here. Be warned though, it's incredibly addictive. Most times I don't even bother playing matches and I just simulate everything, though you've always got the option of controlling a specific wrestler if you want someone to win or lose. I can't say enough good things about GM mode, I love this. I was once thinking of doing a series just playing this and talking shit, but maybe in the future when I run out of games to cover. Before digging into season mode and having fun at the cutscenes, now would be a good time to bring up the other version of SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, the PSP version. I actually own this version because, you guessed it, it's got GM mode in all its glory. But for younger viewers of this channel, there's something you need to understand. Having a SmackDown game in the palm of your hand was absolutely mind-bending at the time. I got my PSP along with GTA Liberty City Stories, and seeing that game run on a handheld was one of the most awesome things that I ever saw way back then. And it's amazing how far we have come now in terms of handheld gaming. Anyway, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 on PSP has got drawbacks, of course. It doesn't look as good as the PS2 version, and keep in mind you're watching upscaled footage here. Actually, let me show you what it usually looks like. Yeah, let's switch that back. The in-game frame rate has been dropped considerably, voice work has been removed from season mode, there's no commentary, load times were horrible if playing from a UMD, but this could be rectified by soft modding the PSP and running the game from one of Sony's god-awful proprietary SD cards. But the PSP also offered a few new things. There's a selection of mini-games on offer that are very interesting for a wrestling release. There's a WWE game show where you can test your wrestling knowledge. We have got Eugene's airplane race. Yeah, control Eugene as he runs around the ring. He's always moving and you have to carefully press left or right to make sure he goes in the right direction. And look at this, WWE Poker. Wrestlers and commentators, some in full gear, sitting around the table and playing poker. I mean, if you wanted a handheld Texas Hold'em game, then this is very serviceable, and hey, I'm sure there's been more than a few 100,000 poker hands dealt out in the locker room over the years, but it does kind of feel weird to have a poker game within a WWE game. Gotta admit though, I played this a lot too. It was good for a little break from GM mode or playing matches. The PSP version could also connect up to the PS2 version using a standard USB cable, and this is how you unlock Jake Roberts. You still had to unlock Jake in the PSP version, but once you did that, you could send the character over to the PS2, and there you go, Jake's ready to play. Now, while it is a cool little feature, I don't like the fact that players had to buy two versions of the game to unlock everything. It's fine for diehards, I guess, but not so good for everyone else. But players were quick to unlock Jake via cheat devices such as the Action Replay, so yeah, good try THQ. The PSP version of SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 will always have a special place in my heart though. I love playing GM mode on this little thing, and the sacrifices made to the graphics when in-game really didn't matter back then. You were just awestruck at having a full WWE game on a handheld. Truth be told, I think I might have played the PSP version more than the console version. Right, season mode. The first thing you're going to notice is the fact that not every wrestler is selectable in season mode. This time the character you select is fully voiced and not every wrestler was available to record their lines. In saying that, we have a few legends we can pick this time around, so let's go with Hulk Hogan, brother. You can choose whether to go to Raw or SmackDown. We'll do SmackDown here. And then we're brought to a pretty standard menu where we can save, change the difficulty, or visit the locker room. The locker room's more like your own personal space which you can decorate with unlockables. You can change the lighting, the decorations, you can change your weight machine. All of this is cosmetic only and none of it's really useful. You've got a trophy and belt case where you can look at the trophies and championships you've won, and these carry over from previous playthroughs. These are all saved to your profile, so you'll keep all this stuff until you delete your save. You've also got a sick PC in your office where you can visit WWE's shop, you can check stats, and you can play challenges. Challenges can be played at any time, they'll earn you extra cash and a few unlockables, and some of these can be pretty tricky, so set aside some time to work your way through them. New costumes can be assigned if your character has any. The training corner is available for custom superstars to improve their stats. The entertainment center lets you change loading screens, and that's it really. This is an improvement over last year's effort, I think. Having a place to see all your achievements within the game and being able to add small personal touches was a good thing. It beats looking at text, that's for sure. We begin week 1 with the Hulkster on SmackDown. Teddy Long's creeping on Tori Wilson, nothing unusual. But then... ooh, someone tried to murder Teddy Long, and by God, we need to get to the bottom of this. John Cena, ever the opportunist, is quick to comfort Miss Wilson, but here comes Hulk Hogan to push his weight around.
Nothing to do with.
No one's accusing anyone of anything, Cena. But as long as you're here, where were you when Theodore Long was taken out?
Excuse me? I must have missed the part where you explained to me why I had to answer to you.
RVD then shows up, we're all blaming each other for what happened to Teddy. Tori wants to know how I feel about this, and yeah, it was John Cena, definitely John Cena, without a doubt. So after I point the finger of doom at Cena, I'm putting a match against him on SmackDown. You do have the option of skipping matches, by the way, but Hulkamania is gonna run wild tonight, brother. So we wrestle Cena, it's a hard fought battle, but Hogan wins and he adds more money to the Linda Hogan divorce fund. In the following week, RVD thanks Hogan for believing him. Hogan still thinks Van Damme's being a bit too friendly though, and maybe this guy got stoned, fell asleep behind the wheel and proceeded to murder Teddy Long. So it's time to make RVD do the JOB. RVD's a slippery little devil and he wrestles a much faster style than Hollywood Hogan, but if there's one thing we've learned about the Hulkster, it's the fact that he's tenacious. He's tenacious and he has creative control. So Van Damme goes down and the mystery of who killed Teddy Long continues on SmackDown. The next week, we get treated to a John Cena rap.
I'm the whole damn show from sunlight to sundown. Van Damme is the reason Teddy Long got run down.
I really wanted Hulk to come out here and battle rap with Cena because we all know Hogan can rap.
Can you feel the music? Can you feel the beat? You don't need drugs to move your feet. When the dealer tries to push on you, just tell him what you're gonna do.
But instead, RVD comes out to call Cena Vanilla Ice. Haven't heard that one before. Tori stops Cena and RVD from fighting, though tensions are still high. And backstage, Tori bumps into that creep JBL. I'm guessing JBL was responsible for killing Teddy. JBL makes mention of Tori Wilson's contract, and before he can say any more, cockblock Hollywood Hogan shows up and Bradshaw gets out of harm's way. Tori says RVD and Cena are going to wreck each other in a match later on, and Hogan's like, so what? Tori wants the Hulkster to referee their match to make sure there isn't another death on SmackDown television, and Hogan's easily swayed into doing it because, tits. So referee Hogan can decide who wins this match and who loses. Will the outcome of this match change what happens in story mode? Probably not. SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 is a bit more linear in terms of story mode, and that's really thanks to your main character being fully voiced. Having lots of branching storylines would mean loads of new lines the wrestlers would have to record, and that would have taken a very long time to put together. So yeah, I don't care who wins, but I will definitely speed things up a little. Cena's annoyed that he got screwed over by Hogan, the three start bickering again. Tori Wilson, the voice of reason, books us in a triple threat match at Judgment Day because she definitely has the power to do that, and Tori says she'll offer her managerial services to the winner. This really doesn't answer the question of who killed Teddy Long, but it seems like these boys have other priorities, I get DQ'd because I can't be asked playing a triple threat match, but it didn't matter anyway. JBL comes out after the match and it turns out old Bradshaw's already got Tori's contract and she already works for JBL. Cena, Hulk and RVD have been fighting for nothing. Wonderful. The following week, Tori Wilson's forced to join JBL and Orlando Jordan in the ring for a promo. JBL says adding Tori Wilson to his administration was one of the greatest things he's ever accomplished, so fuck you, Orlando Jordan. But here comes Hulk Hogan telling Bradshaw he can't get a bird without banging one. Those words seem to cut like a knife. Hogan then challenges JBL to a match and Bradshaw says Hogan isn't in his league. Instead, Bradshaw offers Hogan a tag team match against his administration. I get to choose between RVD and Cena as my partner, and let's go for Cena. So John Boy and Hulk Hogan take on Orlando Jordan and the Basham brothers. Even with this 3-on-2 advantage, there's no way these mid-carders are overcoming the new megapowers of WWE. So myself and Cena win the match, but we still get attacked afterwards. Cena gets put through a table because there's no way I'm taking that bump, brother. The following week, Hogan and RVD are having a smoke in the locker room, but uh-oh, here comes trouble. Tori says JBL's agreed to put her contract up for grabs in a match, and of course, Hogan and RVD are so smitten over Tori that they start arguing. So if Hogan can beat RVD and Orlando Jordan in a single night, he'll get to face JBL at Vengeance in an Iron Man match. Hopefully that'll pull Tori Wilson away from the administration for good. So here I am, beating up the guy I was just sharing a brownie with. Hogan delivers the big leg drop to RVD for the 1-2-3. He goes on to beat Orlando Jordan even though the edibles started kicking in just as the bell rang, it seems. Hogan dominates everyone, surprise surprise, so it's off to Vengeance to face JBL in an Iron Man match. The main event takes place, Tori watches on in the back, two of wrestling's most well-liked and loved superstars headlining Vengeance. It's a hard contest that I ended up playing at this speed right here after a few minutes because Hogan doesn't lose matches, my friends. And there you go, Hulk Hogan wins the Iron Man match. JBL goes down, Hollywood's won the services of Torrie Wilson, and it looks like those services extend beyond the ring. Let's do another few weeks of season mode before wrapping it up, just to see what's next. Hogan wants to chat to Booker T backstage and Booker says, nah, I don't think so. But Hogan's now pointing his finger of doom at Booker T and accusing him of running down Teddy Long.
You beat me in the ring tonight, and maybe you'll get some. Now can you dig that? Sucker.
No one calls Hollywood a sucker and gets away with it. So the mystery of who murdered Teddy Long continues on SmackDown. Seriously though, who does Hogan think he is? He's blaming everyone right now, and you know the old saying, he who pointed the finger pulled the trigger. Blame it on another when you're the guilty brother. When a man gets broken, it must be Hulk Hogan. I'm starting to think it was actually old Hollywood behind the wheel, you know. Booker takes a loss and the Undertaker shows up afterwards. This can't be good. He ends up giving Booker T a weak chokeslam though, and look at Hulk. I'm telling you guys, Hogan killed Teddy Long. The next week, Kurt Angle approaches the Hulkster, two American heroes, and Kurt wants to know how Hogan developed this relationship with the dead man. Kurt's accusing Hulk of colluding with the Phenom, and Hulk, of course, gets super defensive. So Angle challenges Hogan to a submission match and he says he'll take out The Undertaker too if he decides to show up. So yeah, great, I get to show off Hogan's 6 submission skills. Hulk wins it with the deadliest submission hold known to man, a chin lock. And after the match, the lights go down and once again The Undertaker appears. Undertaker goes right after Kurt. Our Olympic hero tries an angled slam but it's no use. So Kurt gets taken out with a last ride and Hogan continues to look guilty. On the next episode of SmackDown, Kurt and Booker get in the ring. These boys admit that they don't like each other, but they've both been punked out by The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan. The boys call out Undertaker and Hogan, but instead they get some Latino hate. Eddie Guerrero appears and he reminds Kurt that he's got a match with him tonight, but Eddie would be happy to give it up for a tag team match instead. Hogan and Guerrero versus Booker and Kurt. If you want to find out what happens next, pick up SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. Remember how THQ said they wanted the original SmackDown vs. Raw to be more simulation based? I think SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 accomplishes that mission way more than the previous game. While the game still feels familiar, it's very different from the original SmackDown games in terms of how you go about winning matches, and it really comes down to personal preference if you think the changes that were made were good or bad. This doesn't feel like an arcade game the way Here Comes the Pain did. This game makes an effort to slow you down and make you consider how your next move will affect the move that follows, so remember to approach each match with a little caution. Season mode seems fine, it's a bit linear but you get longer cutscenes, better voice work from what I heard, and storylines that run for multiple months instead of from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. But for me, the real selling point of this game was GM mode. GM mode was something I could come back to over and over again, and the fact that it was included in the PSP version was just brilliant for me. Personally, I can live with the changes they made to the bell-to-bell action. I don't prefer it over the other games, but I can still have a lot of fun with it. But the in-ring action comes secondary to me in this game because of how much time I wasted in GM mode. Your mileage may vary though. You may have no interest in being a general manager and you'd prefer to spend all your time playing matches. So there's a good chance you might not enjoy SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 in comparison to previous releases because of things like the stamina meter and the updates to the momentum meter, but I still say it's a good game and I think it's better than the original SmackDown vs. Raw. The series had come a long way on the PS2 at this point. I mean, look at Just Bring It in comparison. You'd think these two games were on two different console generations. But our next game in the SmackDown vs. Raw series did release on a brand new console, and that's what we'll check out in the next gaming video. SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 on the Xbox 360. Thanks for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed this one, and please take care.
And you pumping this one in your truck. Let's get dirty. Say let's get dirty. Let's get dirty. And you really don't give a what. Let's get dirty. Say let's get dirty. Let's get dirty. Everybody get your hands up. Let's get dirty. Say let's get dirty. Let's get dirty. You ain't come to party, shut up. Let's get dirty. Say let's get dirty.
Yo, give me some room, I'm throwing elbows. Timberland boots, Air Force, and shell toes. Who the f is them? If I gotta pay to get in the club, I'ma go pop the trunk and turn the street volume up to 10. I I ain't on the guest list, I ain't VIP. I snuck in the exit, learning DIP. My dress code is all black when I'm making the moves, similar to the new PlayStation 2. I can't help it if the club only packing the G, and the fire marshal wanna shut it down at 3, and you ballin' ass is dressed